So continuing on here, a little time this evening, I've got these stubbed over. I'm going to drill some holes for the supply under the kitchen sink. I'll get those lines run, but I'm going to have to clear out my space here. That battery bank, I think I'm going to go ahead and get it put under the floor, get all threads put in, and kind of get it ready to mount the BMS. I'll need to get the leads all set up for that eventually, but I need to be able to work under there, so we're going to move it out of the way by putting it where it's going to go under the floor here. It'll go sort of right in this space is my plan. So anyhow, I think I'm almost ready to do that actually. That might be the wise next step here, so that's what we'll do. So for the battery bank here, I've cut a base plate. I've got the angle irons. The base plate may actually be a little short. I may have to shim it a little bit. But I've got the angle irons. They're going to basically help sandwich us together with these pieces of wood. And I've got the all threads down here. Got to locate my nuts and whatnot for the all threads. I'm going to line the all thread, or kind of use some of this 1/2-inch PEX around the all thread to keep it from abrading plastic covering on the batteries. Similarly, these no trespassing signs are going to be used as insulators. They're a nice thin plastic, durable. So I'll be cutting those to make additional sort of cushion between the batteries to keep them insulated. That piece of carpet's going to go underneath the batteries, probably double thick, to keep them cushioned from jars on the road, bounces, etc. So anyway, I'm going to get this positioned, and I'll be screwing the angle irons down on one side first, and then using the thread as I put the packs in. So, and then we'll put the separators of the signs in, etc. Got to get them trimmed and whatnot. But anyway, I'm going to get this pack essentially set up below the floor, right where I'm standing. I believe I'm going to have it going this way so that the positive and negative terminals going to the inverter are going to be on this side. Batteries will kind of go that way under this floor hatch here. That's my plan anyway. So I'm going to pop these hatches. I got to find a screw gun. I left the screw gun at the house. I was working on a different project. So anyway, I'm sure we got one in the shop I can use. So I put the plywood under here for the simple reason that if the tank should leak, I don't want water hitting the batteries. So I raised them up a little bit, and then I've got this cushiony layer of, it's basically just a floor mat that I cut. So I'll shake the dust off that before I start, but that'll kind of cushion the cells a little bit from the bouncing and jarring of driving. So the next thing I'm going to do is screw down some of these angle irons, or at least on the one side, to start bracketing these in place. And then I've got to find my hardware for the all thread. So I've cut these PEX tubes, 6 of them here. I'm going to put the all thread through them. I'm going to thread the one side. I've got the plastic cut and kind of folded. And then I'll start laying the cells in between these all threads. And then we'll mount the other side and tighten them down a little bit. Alright, so I've got the PEX pipe around the all thread. That's just to insulate the metal, to keep it from rubbing and getting the cells to short. So the whole idea here is to insulate better than just the plastic wrap, because the case of the cell, I believe, is the negative terminal of the battery. It's joined together. So anyhow, I'm going to keep going here and get this rig set up so that I can lay the cells in. So there's the battery rack roughed in. I have not screwed this side down yet, but I do have the bolts started on both sides. So what I'm going to do now, this side's screwed down. What I'll be doing now is putting the batteries in place loosely. And this is 48 volts, so it's going to go positive, negative, positive, negative. And the last two positive negatives are going to go right here in the center. That's where I'll be taking the BMS to the negative side, probably mounting it up here if I can, or down in this way. And then the positive bus bar, the positive will go to the bus bar over here as well. And then I believe the inverter charger will be mounted next to the batteries right here under the hatch. I think that's what I'm going to do. So anyway, I'm going to lay the batteries in loosely, and at this point I'll be able to tighten things down if I can find a 1/2-inch ratchet around here. So right here's how I'm using these plastic signs. The next one will go like so for the next cell. So anyway, and then the last one I'll just flip the direction on this side, put one in like this on the end. So that is the plan, and I want to keep them low enough that they won't interfere with the bus bar. So I'm going to keep going. So there we go. I've got these loosely mounted. And the next step for me is to get the nuts on each side snugged up. I may actually use some of the bus bars and get the strings connected. I'm going to use the bus bars that came with them, but also going to build some copper bus bars of my own. The reason for that is to make sure I can carry the full possible amperage. This pack can put out a lot of amps with the 6,000 watt inverter I'm using. So, possibly up to 100 amps. So I don't trust the Chinese flimsy little bus bars that came with it. There's nothing really wrong with them except that they're not very sizable for for the ampacity. I'd rather overkill it and add some copper pipe homemade bus bars over top of them. So that's what I'll be doing. We'll use some 3/4 copper pipe. I'm going to cut and flatten those and drill holes at home with the drill press. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and put the bus bars in place and get them kind of loosely fit for now. Maybe snug just a little bit so they don't spark. Alright, so there's the battery pack. I have not tightened down the oil thread yet, but that's the battery pack with most of the bus bars in place. Obviously the factory ones won't fit here. I need to make a custom bus bar for that. I'll have to take some measurements. But I've got them kind of roughed in so that I'll be able to tighten things down. I wanted to get the bus bars loosely put into place first, and that way when I tighten things down, the bus bars will still fit properly, hopefully. You don't have to herc these. I have to look up a video real quick and figure out what the spec is, but I think it's like 15 inch-pounds or something. It's just trying to keep these from swelling is all it's doing, and cradling them so they don't bounce around in transit. So anyhow, I am going to go ahead and tighten the oil thread at this point. So at this point, I'm going to go home for the night. I didn't end up tightening these. I'm going to have a little bit of a clearance issue for the center bolts trying to get in there. I may end up using an air tool if I can get in there with the smaller air tool, air ratchet, I don't know. But or I'll just have to have somebody with smaller hands help me. But what I'm going to do right now is cover this up and head home. I've cut this piece of wood. It's very important with these battery banks to not risk anything shorting the terminals. Huge fire hazard. This is 14,000 watt hours. It's a 48 volt nominal bank. Really would be about 56 volts fully charged, I believe, maybe a little more. But it really can put out some serious amperage and start a fire. So I'm going to cover it with this piece of wood just so nothing metal falls on it. So I've got that cut to size. And then what I'll do is I'll put some, I might actually thicken that up a little bit and rest the battery management system on it ultimately, but I'm going to make it so I can lift it up a little bit off the battery and just kind of screw it into the sides with some tabs. That'll ultimately be how I protect the battery bank. I may actually decide to do something with plexiglass. I have to think about that, but the big point here is you got to cover your battery terminals to keep them safe. Otherwise you're running a big fire risk, something metal bumps them, and especially if you didn't see it happen. But obviously I don't want to damage these expensive batteries either. So That's where I'm stopping for tonight. So this evening at home, I'm actually going to be making some bus bars and taking a sample for the normal ones home. This style, I'm going to make these out of copper pipe. First, I'm going to smash the pipe in the vise outside here, throw it in my car, and then I'll cut it at home to the right length and drill the holes in the drill press. This one's a different length though, so what I did is I folded over some tape, made myself a bit of a template that will let me drill the holes in the right place. So anyhow, that'll help me build the larger one, which is going to be double thick. I'm actually going to, I think I can actually do double thick bus bars possibly on most of these. I'll have to look at how thick the copper pipe is when it's crushed. Maybe not. I'm probably just going to crush one with the pipe because I still have to have room to put the BMS leads on this. On the, I believe it's on the negative terminal, so I'll have to look at the diagrams. But anyhow, I'm going to make bus bars. I need 7 normal ones for each side. And then I need the longer one to join the 2 cells there. So right now I'm trying to get my battery management system ready to put in the battery bank over here. I've also got the copper bus bars that I made. So what I did first here is I've got the cable for the balance leads, and I've crimped ring terminals on the ends. Really don't like these plastic covered ring terminals. They're kind of hard to use with this wire. I ended up trimming some of the plastic off and then I used this crimper. It's not pretty, but I think they'll work. I'm going to test for continuity before I connect them to the battery, and then I'll test the voltage levels once it's connected using the back side of the ribbon cable here, or the connector, ribbon connector I guess, even though it's not really a ribbon cable, it's similar. There's little contacts here I can test voltages once I have it connected. So I'll get this connected before I connect the BMS. I've got to look at the video for connecting the BMS. This one's a 200 amp unit. It's a listed as Del Green, but I think it's made by Dali. I think it's the same company. So yeah, out of China. Anyhow, we've got the Bluetooth dongle and the temperature probe here as well. Next thing I'm doing while I still have some daylight is I've got these bus bars already drilled, copper bus bars that I made. I'm going to flatten them some more in the vise right here, get them nice and flat, just so they tighten better on the batteries. Alright, so I've got these bus bars flattened out, and I used this belt sander over here upside down, and what I did is I brightened up, even beyond the wire wheeling I brightened up the contact points so that we end up with good contact. I'll be wiping these down with alcohol swabs before I mount them, as well as the other bus bars. And the points on the battery where the contact is made, it'll all get wiped down with alcohol swabs, so there's no oil film making or interrupting contact at all. And then we'll connect these, and we'll connect the battery management system leads at the same time. Alright, so I've got the first bus bars in place with the first positive lead on the cable here. The black wire goes to this negative terminal. So you got the first reference voltage, the second reference voltage, the third reference voltage, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and so on, up to 16 cells, connecting the positives up to the last cell here. So I rubbed everything with alcohol, with a little alcohol swab, and I'll do that on every one just to keep the, like I said, the oils from being a problem, dirt, oil, whatever. So there it is. I've got all the cells wired up with the balance leads. I'm going to test the voltages on the balance leads, make sure I've got continuity all the way through. I'm going to do that with the multimeter probes, and hopefully it all is good. We'll find out in a minute. I'm back at the bus here, and this just showed up. It's a replacement for the Genetry Solar that I bought before. They were nice enough to upgrade this for me. to their Revision C control module and make some internal tweaks to make sure it's more resilient on the road. And I'm going to send back the other unit that I have over here, right over there, that's been sitting. Haven't connected it yet, but this has the ability to auto switch from 110 to 240 or 120 to 240 volt input. And so I'm going to get it set in place. I'm going to put it on some blocks so that it's lifted off the floor a little more. And it's going to go DC side this way so that the bus bars are here. The charge controllers will be dropping down sort of, I think, behind here. I might try to figure out how to get them to go through the floor there, or they'll come in over there possibly and come over and then connect to the bus bars. That might be the easier way, more forward of the tanks in that corner. But anyway, the charge controllers are going to be mounted up here because the solar coming in from the roof will be able to set a box up there and connect those. So that's the plan for the charge controllers. So anyhow, I'm going to get this blocked with some 3/4 OSB to lift it off the floor a bit, and then I'll get it set in place, and I'm going to package up the old unit to be shipped back to Genetry, or yeah, back to Genetry, I think. So anyway, this is pretty exciting. I've got the model here that'll help me finish the electrical installation except for the solar and charge controllers. So I'm going to do this in 2 phases. The battery bank and inverter charger connected to shore power and connected to the panels. And then I'm going to tie in the solar panel arrays and the charge controllers to the bus bars, along with all the fusing that needs to be done. Things like the shutoff, which is over here. So battery management system, etc. So anyway, I needed to get this before I could activate the BMS. So anyhow, that's where we're at. And right there's the unit on the blocks. DC side over here, AC side over here. So I'm going to try to leave enough room here for airflow. I will be drilling some holes in the upright part of the floor edging here. Probably be drilling some holes in the front as well, sort of in the underfloor area, so that we've got some ventilation, some room for air to move. So, and then ultimately this will be covered with some kind of a cover to keep water from trickling down over the unit. If we're mopping the floor or whatever, you know, have some kind of a plastic cover for this whole setup when I'm done. Something to protect it. So being under the floor is good because it's out of the way, but it is at a low spot where moisture could possibly drip on it. But the solar unit's actually in the dead center of the cabinet, or the cover here, so that'll be good in the way of protection as well. It is totally shielded by all this wood, so, but still can't be too careful with electricity, so we'll protect it.